Community Rebirth Organization Plan, Neighborhood News Forum, that long walk strategy needs to be talked about, and the Occupy Philadelphia people, Dave here, I'd like to get some word out of him on what he thoughts about that in terms of...
Yeah, there's a lot to say. I guess first off, I want to bring back to the discussion about the Constitution and the role of the federal government, because that's probably the most fundamental topic that we discussed here today, and probably the best way to enter the conversation, because it's a very controversial issue within Occupy, because a lot of people have different feelings about what's the intrinsic role that federal government has, Constitution, and the states, and my whole perspective is that there's a Constitution, technically it's law, it's a identifying system, identifies intrinsic rights, and really its role is to sustain those intrinsic rights, to make sure that this entire nation as a whole, as a collective, and also that each individual state upholds certain intrinsic liberties. And also the other aspect is protocols, the protocols of how the system runs, and really it's focusing upon equality and a fluid functioning system that's abiding and being run by we citizens. That's the original vision. If you really taking a look at the founding fathers and what socio-political framework they were coming from, which was liberalism from that time period, liberalism in that framework of what we consider limited government, and basically liberalism as a response to imperialist monarchical government, where in the past everything was ruled by aristocrats and royal family lineage, and they are the ones who organize and ran the economy as well as the state and the religion as well. So that's what America, we as a country, we were founded as a response away from that. And
actually, what it says, we the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our prosperity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America.
So in the past, it was the duty and responsibility of the aristocrats to sustain these values and qualities, technically speaking. But the thing is, some of these, that was a social conception that, hey, the king, the queen, the royal, the nobility, they were there to protect the people and provide for the people. But the thing is, power doesn't really, certain states didn't exactly function that way, and the aristocrats just simply overtook power and social culture. They dominated the culture, and simply the United States government was really identifying a particular method and means and protocol as to recognizing that we, the people, we have the ability and the God-given right, if you will, or the free will, whatever you want to call it, to govern ourselves and use the system of government in our favor to implement things on a larger social scale. What are you going to say, Jasper?
Well, that more perfect union that's alluded to here.
Yeah, a more perfect, and the thing is, they've identified that that was a test trial period. That the Constitution is simply it's not an end product, but it's something to further develop, and they recognize that the union that they've created is not perfect. And
the union that they were alluding to is the Iroquois Confederation.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's what they were trying to become more perfect than.
Yeah.
And then the Iroquois Confederation.
Recognizing that they were essentially perfect by their standards, by their present contemporary standards.
Yeah, basically
Yeah.
what happened was when the crown brought over the people here, and that's the Long Walk people, they brought over vassal serfs and slaves of all stripe and color. And when they got here, they found out that there existed what in English is called a democracy, and that democracy, is another English word, had a union. And many people defected to that alternative union from the crown colonies. And the reason that the crown was here was that that more perfect union actually established relationships with them, and because God had told the people of that more perfect union that they were coming, made a place for them.
Yeah.
That's never discussed in any public forum.
Yeah, I'd like to say something, and it's something that's kind of moving through me right now. Basically, like, the most important thing to recognize concerning the issue of the Constitution, the founding of this of America, and like, America has been the foundation of Western governmental society. Basically, what you just said, Jasper, about a more perfect union, that's referring it's not referring to what was stabilized at the foundation of America, but what our Constitution and our government was inspired by the Iroquois Confederation, and that is the true reference for a harmonious social way of life. That is the true reference that this country must look to and set as a standard for how to function as a society. And you want to know, so that is really, like, in terms of like true conservative thought, or like what I'm going to call liberal conservative thought, referring to liberalism in the days of the founding father, because their social philosophy was called liberalism, because in that day, as I said earlier, it was liberal in reference to what the conservative thought was back then, which was theocracy. And so liberal conservatism, that, like, the essence of what that is really the Iroquois Confederation. Now, going into contemporary liberal philosophy, over time, contemporary liberal philosophy has, it's been, conservative thought looks to the past to find the essence of how we need to live, and sees that in traditions and traditional values. There's values there that we don't have today, and that we need to look to the past to integrate that in our society. Now, liberals, they look at society and see that we need to develop new ways of functioning, that the old ways, there's a lot of problems, and that in developing new ideas and new conceptions, that's how we can improve society. And liberal thought, over time, especially the last number of decades, anyways, anarchism, or another word for anarchism is libertarian socialism, that has looked at indigenous cultures for generations now, in the labor movements and all that. That was the birthplace of libertarian socialism, or like the real radical liberal thought. That's what I'm really getting at here. Radical liberal thought. The ideas of communism. Looking at Marx, really what he's, the essence of what he was speaking of was essentially bringing democracy in the context of the economic workplace, that laborers and workers implement democracy and mutual relationships in that workplace.